Article 370, a beacon of controversy, a symbol of autonomy, and a cornerstone of Indian constitutional history. This constitutional provision has been at the heart of India's political discourse since its inception. But what exactly is Article 370, and why does it carry such weight in the annals of Indian history? In the context of the Indian Constitution, Article 370 was a unique provision. It granted special status to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Unlike the rest of India, Jammu and Kashmir were allowed to have their own constitution, state flag, and autonomy of internal administration. This autonomy was a significant departure from the norm. It meant that the state of Jammu and Kashmir had a considerable amount of freedom to govern itself, limited only in areas of defense, foreign affairs, and communications. This arrangement was not a mere bureaucratic detail. It was the culmination of a historical process, a result of the unique circumstances surrounding the accession of Jammu and Kashmir to India. The state's politicians at that time opted to form a separate constituent assembly, leading to the incorporation of Article 370 into the Indian Constitution. But why was this so significant? Well, it was because Article 370 represented a delicate balance. On the one hand, it acknowledged the distinct identity of Jammu and Kashmir within the Indian Union. On the other hand, it upheld the principle of unity in diversity, a core value at the heart of the Indian Constitution. This intricate balance made Article 370 more than just a provision of India, a symbol of the autonomy that the state enjoyed, and a symbol of the challenges that lay in integrating diverse regions into a single national framework. Article 370, thus, is not just a constitutional provision, it is a chapter written in the blood and sweat of our forefathers. The year was 1947, a time of upheaval, a time of change. As the British colonial rule was coming to an end, the Indian subcontinent was on the brink of partition. The partition was to create two separate nations, India and Pakistan, each with its own unique identity and destiny. Among the many princely states that had to decide their fate was Jammu and Kashmir. Ruled by Maharaja Hari Singh, the state shared borders with both India and the newly formed Pakistan. The Maharaja, caught in a dilemma, initially chose to remain independent. However, the course of history took a sharp turn when invaders from Pakistan attempted to seize Jammu and Kashmir. In the face of this aggression, the Maharaja sought assistance from India. This led to the signing of the Instrument of Accession, a legal document that made Jammu and Kashmir an integral part of India. The Instrument of Accession was based on three pivotal subjects: defense, foreign affairs, and communications. But the story doesn't end there. The unique circumstances of Jammu and Kashmir's accession led to the need for special provisions. The state's politicians opted to form a separate constituent assembly to draft their own constitution. They desired a certain degree of autonomy to preserve their distinct identity. This was the genesis of Article 370. It was a product of these unique circumstances, a result of complex negotiations and delicate balancing of interests. Article 370 of the Indian Constitution granted special status to Jammu and Kashmir, allowing it to have a separate constitution, a state flag, and autonomy over internal administration. It was a symbol of the state's unique relationship with the Indian Union. And thus, amidst the chaos of a nascent nation, Article 370 was born. The journey of Article 370 was as turbulent as the waters of the Dal Lake. As we navigate the post-1947 timeline, it's important to understand the significant amendments that shaped the course of Jammu and Kashmir's unique constitutional status. In the early years after independence, the Indian Parliament passed several amendments, fine-tuning the relationship between the central government and the state. While some aimed at strengthening the Union's control, others recognized the unique cultural and geographical identity of the region. The 60s saw a major amendment that extended the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to Jammu and Kashmir, further integrating the state into the Indian legal framework. This period also witnessed the extension of the fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy to the state, marking a significant shift in the region's constitutional landscape. Moving into the 70s and 80s, the amendments focused on administrative aspects, such as the governor's role and the applicability of central laws. These changes, while subtle, played a crucial part in shaping the state's governance structure. Fast forward to the 90s, the state witnessed a series of amendments aimed at addressing the rising security concerns. These amendments, often controversial, brought Jammu and Kashmir under the purview of various central laws related to security and anti-terrorism. As we moved into the new millennium, the amendments became sparse, reflecting a period of relative stability. However, the undercurrents of change were brewing, leading up to the momentous decision of 2019. The path of Article 370 was winding and fraught with challenges, each amendment a reflection of the changing times. 2019, a year that will forever be etched in the annals of Indian history. This was the year when the Indian government made a bold and unprecedented move that sent ripples across the nation and beyond its borders. The stage was set for the abrogation of Article 370, a constitutional provision that had granted special status to the state of Jammu and Kashmir for over 7 decades. The government, led by the Bharatiya Janata Party, had long expressed its intention to revoke this article. Their staunch belief was that this special status was a hindrance to Jammu and Kashmir's complete integration with the rest of India, fostering separatist sentiments and hindering development. The time had come to act on these convictions. On the 5th of August, the Indian government issued a presidential order, an order that would change the face of Jammu and Kashmir forever. This order made all provisions of the Indian Constitution applicable to Jammu and Kashmir, effectively revoking its special status. The very next day, on the 6th of August, all clauses of Article 370, except Clause 1, were made inoperative. The stage was set, the die was cast. But the changes did not stop there. The Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act was passed in the same year, dividing the state into 2 union territories, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. This was a significant shift from the previous state of affairs, a shift that would shape the future of these regions in ways yet unknown. The decision was met with a mixed bag of reactions. While some hailed it as a historic step towards the complete integration of Jammu and Kashmir with India, others criticized it as a breach of trust and democratic values. The Supreme Court of India, however, upheld the constitutionality of the abrogation of Article 370 on the 11th of December 2023. With a stroke of a pen, Article 370 was rendered inoperative, a moment that marked the end of an era that had seen the birth, life, and demise of a unique constitutional provision. The story of Jammu and Kashmir was now set on a new course, a course charted by the events of 2019. The abrogation of Article 370, a change that reverberated across the nation. As the dust settled after the monumental decision, Jammu and Kashmir entered a new phase of its history. The abrogation of Article 370 had profound implications. No longer a state with special status, it was reimagined and restructured as 2 distinct union territories, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. A move that was seen as a significant shift in the administrative landscape of the region. This change was not without its legal challenges. Critics questioned the constitutionality of the decision. But the highest judicial authority in the country, the Supreme Court of India, upheld the abrogation. On the 11th of December 2023, the court affirmed the constitutionality of the decision, putting to rest the legal debates surrounding it. In the aftermath, the region of Jammu and Kashmir, once shrouded in the unique provisions of Article 370, was now under the direct administration of the central government. The state's politicians, who had once opted to form a separate constituent assembly, were now part of a broader national framework. The laws of the land, uniformly applicable to the rest of the country, were now applicable to this region as well. So, let's summarize the points we've discussed. Article 370 was a provision in the Indian Constitution that granted special status to Jammu and Kashmir. It allowed the state to have a separate constitution, state flag, and autonomy in internal administration. But in August 2019, the Indian government abrogated Article 370, making all provisions of the Indian Constitution applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. The state was divided into two union territories, and this decision was later upheld by the Supreme Court. Article 370, a chapter in Indian history that began in the tumultuous times of 1947, reached a dramatic conclusion in 2019. It is a testament to the evolving nature of our nation and a reminder of our journey as a democracy.